Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host, and hopefully you've been with me since January of 2023 when I started Embracing the Fight. And look, it's almost January of 2025. So I just wanted to take this time out to say thank you for tuning in each week to listen to me on Embracing the Fight. Hopefully, it has made a difference in your life, and you've been able to share these different stories, these different testimonies, and this information to help your family and your friends' lives as well. Because the premise is for me to help you to have the conversations that will allow you to be free, the conversations that will bar all the issues that you thought people would have with you if they found out that you were going through something. Because everyone needs someone whenever they're going through something. I know, it's hard to have a conversation with someone when you're dealing with something extremely private. Look at the person that, is dealing with HIV or say with herpes and they want to date. You know how hard that could be for a person that's trying to date like that because people automatically assume all these different things when those diseases are discussed, when you never know, how they got it. And why should it matter, how? It's what they're dealing with, at this point. And we aren't supposed to judge. Now, you should look at it this way too. That person felt safe enough, to tell you whatever their, issue was. And that's what embracing the fight is all about. It's trying to help normalize the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. That way people stop suffering, in silence. So with all that being said, if you haven't taken the time out to subscribe, it takes 2 seconds. Click that subscribe button, click like, and then if you'd like to comment on the different episodes that you're watching, please do because I'll respond back. And also, if you'd like to be a guest on Embracing the Fight, please send me an email to operations@diversitydesign.com, or you can comment below, or you can reach out to me on any social media platform and I'll respond back to you. All right, now that we've gotten the business of things out of the way, let's talk about episode 96, Kinfolk. So, did you know that it was 391,000 children in foster care in 2024? Did you know that 43% of them were Caucasian American, 22% African Americans, 22% Hispanic Americans, 8% Asian Americans, and then you have 3% that are multiracial and 2% that are American Indian or Alaskan Native. That is a lot of children that have been placed into foster care. Now, let's look a little deeper, into that statistic. Because of those 391,000 children so far this year, 46% of them have been placed. So what exactly, do we mean by placed? So 27% of those kids are either adopted, like not in foster care in the sense that they're either in a foster home or a foster family, but they're actually adopted. So 27% are adopted. And then let me back up just a little bit because 1/3 of those children, the 391,000 I was talking about, have some form, of disability. So you factor that in, as well. So then those 27% that are placed, in a forever home, everybody assumes that, they have a safe place and, it's great. They're blessed. They have a blended family. And then you have 11% that are given over to guardians. You have another 5% that are actually emancipated, another 5% that actually reach the legal age. So they've been in foster care all their life and they just kind of age out. They just walk out and never, had a family. So if you're out there listening And you have the desire and you have the love and the home, the capacity, the space to share with a foster child. I say, why not do it? Why not try it? Because if you love kids and you want more kids, in your home, in your life, adopt a child. Now, to be honest, you hear a lot of people that say, you know what, you adopt a child, you don't know what you're getting. Like, okay, I understand. Because there's one specific story that I remember, and that was of Betty Shabazz. I believe that it was a grandchild that actually set, the home on fire that she was in that caused her to lose her life. Now, I had to do some fact checking on that, but I was under the impression that this child was adopted, but don't quote me on it. But that was one of the stories, that I heard, and people were constantly saying things like, "Oh, you adopt a child, they could have been a baby that was on crack or meth, and they won't be normal. They're going to do all these different things, to you and into your home." And sure, that may be, a valid, point for a person to not choose a child. But what about those kids that say, I don't know, both of their parents were killed in a tragic accident and they're like 7 or 8, years old? Because this is the age that most of the kids are entering, foster care. Because think about it, people will adopt a little baby, much faster than they will, a 7 or 8 year old, because of people that have that mentality that, oh, it's a 7 or 8 year old, it's harder, to turn this child's mind or mentality, around. So I get it. But at the same time, all children need love. And if you don't want to necessarily adopt, find out where the foster care centers are and volunteer. You can show, motherly love, fatherly love to children and not necessarily take them home. Because, I understand with foster care, sometimes the people come back and get the children. And when they do, you can be left heartbroken because you become, attached to this child. I get it. That is, if you don't adopt them, outright. I'm not judging. I'm not saying what you should do, because sure, people are looking at me saying, "Hey, you're single, you don't have any kids, you live well, so why not, adopt some kids?" It's a good question. Thought about it, several times, but it hasn't, truly fallen in my spirit to do that, because there are some other things that I need to do as a person and I want to do prior to doing something like that. Not saying I'm afraid of the kids or anything like that. No, it's nothing like that. I've just changed some things in my life that will make it a little bit more difficult right now for me to have kids now. I could have, you know, done it years ago, no problem. But I'm making some changes. Anyway, let's just keep going. So then you have, those kids that say, I don't know, they were in a family, the parents divorced. And then once the parents divorced, they just said, okay, I'm putting you in foster care because my new family, the man or the lady, that I'm marrying, they don't want you. So I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna put you over here. So you got those kids. And then you have those kids that, have run away from home, that may be homeless, that somehow ended up in foster care. So adopting a child or fostering a child is a beautiful way to extend or expand your family. And those children, in many cases, love you just like your biological children would, if not more, because they're very appreciative of the fact that you took them out of the system and you love them enough to call them, your own. And that in itself has to be an amazing and rewarding feeling, that you were able to love a child to the point where they felt, love themselves. Because I understand a lot of kids that are in foster care, don't really have that warm and loving and bonding feeling because they feel like if I go out here as a foster child, I may come back. So they don't, really get attached to people, that decided to bring them in. So I don't know. I think I'm going to do some things different after, hearing myself say this, especially when it comes to volunteering and going, to the different places where not necessarily an adoption agency, but where there are some foster care homes or like some orphanages, things of that nature. Also, in this episode, we're talking about kinfolk. So we've looked at children that are in the foster care system. But what about those families that break? And when they break, through divorce or say if one parent dies and the other parent, you know, takes the kids and the kids only see their side of the family, not the other side of the family, and then they marry someone else and they have a new set, of brothers and sisters and they have a new set, of family members. It's like, you know, what does that do, for the child? How does the child really explain this? So imagine being a small child and you have brothers and sisters and your parents divorced and they send each one of you to a different place and you grow up one place, your brother grows up one place, your sister grows up somewhere else. And then your parents remarry and then they have a whole nother set, of people. All those people are now, related to the ones in the middle, but the ones on the outside aren't related to each other. But you're all still kinfolk. You're all still, family in a way because you all have some type of familial love that runs, through your veins. So when that happens, it's very important that you don't, draw lines between those family members. Because if you say, oh, I got a stepbrother or a stepsister, they're still your brother, they're still your sister. You will still love and protect and care for them just like you would those ones that are biologically related to you. Because why wouldn't you? You grew up with them, say you're in the same house, you love the same parent or parents, depending on, how it happened. And you share everything. So why would you, draw a line and say, we ain't really related. We just grew up in the same house. That's still family because they would look out for you, hopefully. Or when the things happen, you have your tragedies, you have your, deaths, things of that nature. When stuff like that happens, you'll still lean on them like their family. Now, you got those folks that'll probably say, no, I wouldn't, because if I got a trust fund for my mom, I'm not going to share it, with them because they're not, related to their step or whatever. But that's fine. You know, you could do that however you want to. If your parents didn't express, where they wanted their inheritance to go, then you could do whatever you want to because, by law, you're entitled to them. But if they wrote out a will, then you got to follow their wishes by law. So not only do you have, the blended family and extended families and all this, you have friends. Some friends are so close to you that you refer to them as your brother, your sister, and you refer to their parents as your other mama or your other father, or you'll call them mama this or mama that or daddy this or daddy that. And you go to functions with them, you spend time with them just like they are related to you biologically. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it because you can build, your own family. Because I hear people, infighting all the time within their families. And they, I got more family, in the street. I'm not saying that you should glorify that. Fix the issues that you have with your family, but also surround yourself with people that love you, that make you feel like family. Because when you do that, your support system grows in such a way that it impacts your self-worth, your well-being, your health. Because think about it. Most people that die alone, you'll hear stories about, how miserable they were, how sad they were, the times that you remember seeing them, they never had any joy. But that was because they felt isolated. When you have strong family ties, you have kinfolk, you have people that care about you. It tends to show, in who you are and what you do and how you help people. It's almost like medicine for the soul to have, a strong support system. I don't understand how people can go through life completely blocking folks out. Now, I'm not talking about, those people that sometimes just turn off their phone and they turn off social media and they just need to get in a quiet place to reset. I'm not talking about those folks. I'm talking about those people that will move, thousands of miles away from their family, don't share their information. Nobody knows where they live. They don't have a phone number, anything like that. And then they just kind of disappear. It's like, why would you do that? I mean, I'll never understand it. I understand, people probably do it because say they're really rich and they don't want to have to deal with people coming to them begging and asking for stuff. But at the same time, how do you nourish yourself? How do you, feed your soul with the love of family if you're isolating yourself out? So the main reason that we're talking about kinfolk in this episode is because embracing the fight is about normalizing the conversations surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. If you have a strong family unit, you have someone or several people that you can talk to, especially like during the holidays. This is one of the times of year where people struggle the most with depression because they're by themselves. They don't have anyone to turn to. I was watching, I can't remember, you know, which show it was, but it was a court show. And there was a set of twins on the show. And one of them was on the side by herself, and the other was on the side with her father. And the one who was on the side by herself said at one point that she was homeless and she couldn't come back to her family. It's like, you got a twin sister that you were living on campus with. So when the holidays came, you went home, but then your parents put you out because you're dating someone that is 11 years your senior and they don't approve of it. But then you find out later that your parents did the same thing because your dad is 12 years older than your mother. It's like, how do you do that? How do you just turn your back, on your child? But the judge basically got in there and was like, look, you shared a womb with her. This is your sister. You should look past all this pettiness and all this craziness that has happened over this past year and accept her, back into your arms. And the father, she was basically like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Why would you, be a hypocrite like that? And then be okay with turning your back on your child. But then when you heard her say that she was homeless, you was shocked. Where did you think she was going? Did you think she was going with that man? And that, that was questionable for me too. It was like, if you are dating this guy and he's 11 years older than you, why aren't you staying with him instead of being homeless? Like she literally said that he paid for a hotel for her for a couple of nights, and then she went into a homeless shelter when they could accept her. Why can't you stay with him? Because he sounds like he's the source or part of the source of the reason why, you couldn't go back home. But I said all that, to say this. Imagine if those twins, that father, that family, because the mama didn't even think it was enough for her to take off to come to the hearing. She just like, I gotta work. I ain't gotta deal with this. It's like, how do you get to that point, in your family to dismiss the people who are supposed to love and protect you the most? Or you dismiss the ones that you gave life to? Like that totally blows my mind. I don't even know, how to imagine what that would be like if I were to go home one day, the locks changed and stuff like that, and my parents standing in the window looking at me going, "Mm-mm, you can't come in here. We don't want you here." Like what? I don't even know, how to begin to think how that would feel. And I could imagine, that young girl's horror, because she was like, what, 19, 20? She was somewhere in there. And it was like, it just made no sense. So I'm saying on this episode that you should have that support system. You should have, that love that comes from your family first, the biological family, the blended family, or the extended family through friendship. Because those are the things, like I said, that nurture your soul. You can pick up a phone and call someone just to hear someone's voice if it makes you feel better. Now, if someone has passed on, there's still other people in your family that you can seek comfort, that you can seek knowledge, information. You can just call them just to talk, just to say hi. And you'll realize what that does, for you, just in general. Because people who don't have anyone to talk to are the people that suffer the most physically and mentally. So, what I'd like for you to do is take some time and just really think about, your family. Can you extend your family by adopting a child? If you can, do it. And if you could temporarily do it, become a foster parent. And if you can't do that, go and volunteer, somewhere in the foster care system. Do something to try to help make it better. And then if you have a blended family, take the time to really get to know, those people that are now in your family, even though they might not be biologically related, they are your family. They are kinfolk. Take the time to get to know them. And then lastly, if you want to continue to build your family, open your heart. Ask God to pray. Well, ask God to send you some strong, kind, loving people that can be like family if you don't have family. And then actually, you probably should pray and ask the Lord first to heal the issues and the problems that you're having in your biological family. Do that first before you bring friends in, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to be complaining to all those friends about all the terrible things that's going on in your family. But then when those family ties are corrected, they're going to say, oh, we remember when such and such was going on and you needed us and you didn't need them. It's a mess. So clean up the mess before you bring other people into it. And just watch how your countenance, how your demeanor, how everything about your life can change when you have the strength of family behind you. Let's learn to love all of our kinfolk. Thank you so much for taking time out to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight. And as always, I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.